Hasselbeck, the total is just 4.5 wins for the Cleveland Browns. Are you going more or less?
Well, more, and Greeny, I think you kind of alluded to it there. Like, it's just so low. You know, the fact that you look at the Browns a year ago, 4 of their losses were one-score games. So I'm not saying it's going to be more than 5, but I think the total being so low, I do think, you know, they'll have stable quarterback play, you know, for much of the season. I think part of that's how they coach offense. And I think it'll be a good defense, still led by Jim Schwartz.
Okay, so Tim, let me start with you here, because obviously the story of the draft was the slide of Shedeur Sanders all the way into the 5th round. And I have not gotten your perspective on it through a quarterback's eyes. I have my own theory on how it turned out for him. But I just want to confirm, there were some people who were not that high on him going into this process. Well, obviously, many people, as it turned out. But is he a 5th-round player to you? I mean, if you were evaluating him and putting a round, a grade on him and say his play deserves to be an X round, what round would you have had it in as an evaluator?
Yeah, I think, you know, somewhere between probably rounds 2 and 4 is what I would say. Look, my comp, and I said it on the show prior to the draft, Greeny, was, look, you hope that he could be Andy Dalton. That's what I said prior to the draft. And I said it because of the physical skill set. And listen, it was not an insult. Andy Dalton has had a remarkable year. I think he's in year 17. He's thrown over 250 touchdown passes. But like, that's what I thought. Andy Dalton was a 2nd-round pick. Other people compared him to Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins went in the 4th round, I believe. So I just think that, you know, from a physical ability perspective, look, he was not a 1st-round prospect in my eyes, and I think many people felt that way. Now, his tape and production, I think it's fair to say, you know, look, rounds 2 instead of round 4 could make sense for a lot of people.
That's my point. Okay, so that confirmed what I believe, that he was probably a 2nd-round caliber player. And let's use Andy Dalton. Dominique, I would suggest that a young Andy Dalton would easily be the starting quarterback on these Cleveland Browns. I look at the room that he's walking into. Joe Flacco, who is 40 years old, he too has had a terrific career, but he's 40 years old. Deshaun Watson is never playing there again. Kenny Pickett is on his 3rd team in 3 years. I know Dillon Gabriel was drafted ahead of him, but literally not one evaluator I know had Dillon Gabriel ranked ahead of Shedeur Sanders. He fell for entirely other reasons. The point I'm trying to make here, Dominique, is that while the weekend obviously felt like a disaster for him, the way it turned out, I think he wound up in a place where he has an excellent chance to play, which very rarely can you say about a quarterback drafted in the 5th round.
Yeah, I mean, I like the spin that you're putting on it, and I think you're right. He has an excellent chance to play, but you need to play well and play well fast if you're a 5th-round pick, and you're on a team that's probably projected to be near the top of the 1st round again next year. If he does not demonstrate in whatever time he gets in practice and in the games that he is a franchise quarterback, there's no waiting time. There's no investment in him. They're not going to go get all the pieces to put around him to make him play better like we've seen with Caleb Williams and other quarterbacks who are drafted in the 1st round. If he does not show that he is the franchise quarterback in this season at some point, they're drafting another quarterback in the 1st round next year. So I think you're right. He has a good chance of getting on the field, but he does not have a long leash or a lot of time to prove that he's the quarterback for this team for years to come.
I guess that's true based on the place that he was drafted. But if he had been drafted in the 2nd round, we'd be talking about him right now as the starting quarterback of this team. And he's the same guy, right? He didn't play a football game over the last 3 months.
He wasn't drafted in the 2nd round.
No, I understand that.
That's the thing. It's like, be legendary.
Don't think he's their starter this year?
I don't know if he makes the team this year. I don't know if we could say that. He's the 5th-round pick who is the 4th quarterback on the depth chart right now. And the same insular world that told him to be legendary and you're a 1st-round pick and don't be a combine, workout guy and don't do the Senior Bowl and don't do it. I would hope someone is like, all right, let's reset this and say it's going to be a little different right now. The path has changed, and everyone's assuming that that their light has gone off and he's going to just come in and just be like, all right, I'm going to be a backup, be seen, not heard. I want to do everything I can to make this team. We don't know that.
Well,
so I think it's, yes, his ability. That's what's all along. It's what's reality, and if he gets to Browns camp and isn't willing to be the first one in, the last one out, and isn't willing to prepare the others like Dillon Gabriel will, We don't even know if he's going to make it for week 1.
Tim, I have a moment left. Go ahead, finish it up. What is your expectation?
Yeah, well, Peter's exactly right. It's not a lock that he makes the roster, out of camp. Look at 5th round, picks. They don't always make the team right out of camp. But I would say this, Greeny, to your point, if you're a 5th round pick, especially a quarterback, you're looking for any glimmer of hope for an opportunity to have an impact, prove to people that you can play. Any glimmer of hope. And so to your point, the glimmer of hope is this. Joe Flacco hadn't started an entire season since 2017. Kenny Pickett came in as a first rounder in 2022, is already on his 3rd team, and then you're dealing with another rookie. That's your glimmer of hope, but it is like put your head down and work, as Peter said.
Yes, hopefully he will do that. And what I will say,
Who's in the SportsCenter?
This makes me such a boomer. I'm just like, stay in the pocket and throw the ball. Okay. So really quickly with the Browns, because I don't even know how to approach this conversation because it's the most insane quarterback room of all time. The way I thought, though, I wanted to talk to you about it was, again, the situation, and then this is how I wanted to position it. Dillon Gabriel versus Shedeur Sanders. Mm-hmm. Who's a better fit for this offense? Because unlike these other teams, certainly the Kellen Moore aspect of it, we know what a Kevin Stefanski offense looks like. We know what he wants it to look like. So I think there's actually, you can have like an interesting discussion about who is a better fit. But first we should talk about the situation really quickly. This receiving group. Judy, Tillman, Rash.
Yes.
They drafted Harold Fannin Jr., who joins Dave Njoku. They drafted 2 running backs, Quinshon Judkins and Dylan Sampson, both of whom I like. Offensive line is DeJuan Jones, Bitonio, Posich, Teller, Conklin. They assigned Kevin Jenkins. This is not a good offense, man. And
I think that's also why they didn't draft a quarterback high.
Yeah.
Because who's gonna succeed with this?
They also could have a receiver. Did you really have to take 2 running backs? Could have drafted an offensive lineman. I don't understand their draft, whatever.
I think taking this to your running backs is a signal of we will run the ball 40 times a game, whether it's working or not, because we have to. That will be their identity.
I wrote this is almost like kind of the Niners in 20. I was trying to come up with the years. Definitely pre-CMC Niners. I think they're going for, let's just get some big bodies on the field, add to running backs and tight ends. It's going to be a wide zone run game. Although Sampson is, it's a different, maybe, I don't know. But maybe they're going to mix it up. Play action off of that. Yeah, I wouldn't feel great about any of these quarterbacks slotting in here, to be honest.
I will say, if Gabriel is playing, and I don't know if he will be, you almost have to do a bootleg heavy game plan for him so he can see. Because I was out there at the Elite 11 last summer before Gabriel's last year in college. And he was one of the counselors at Elite 11, and he was going through a throwing session. I thought he was one of the high school kids. I was like, man, this kid's he's 17 years old. He's spinning. He's got a great ball. And it's oh no, that's Dillon Gabriel. I was like, oh God. He is not a large human being. And his center is 6'6", his left tackle 6'8", his right tackle 6'6". He's not gonna be able to see over these guys. So they will have to roll him out a lot so that he has vision down the field. And I think he throws a good ball. I really do. He's just really, really, really small, like outlier small, even more so than Kyler Murray.
Yeah.
At least Kyler's got freakish athleticism,
Yeah, that's the issue with Gabriel, because it looks good when he throws.
Yeah.
And I will say, this situation, this offense is what I envisioned for him as a developmental prospect or backup. Play action heavy, boot heavy. You spelled it out. It makes a lot of sense. If they had drafted Dillon Gabriel in the 5th round, I would have been yeah, perfect sense. Shedeur is. It's interesting because I think there's a lot of divide about whether his fit in this type of offense. There's aspects of it that do make sense. He's obviously, apparently, he's accurate. He's accurate throwing to the middle of the field. And I think that would be where he has an edge over Gabriel. I think he sees the middle of the field better, and the ball he sets up receivers to get yards after the catch. The problem is he just holds on to the damn ball, right? So, I think you call the offense is the offense. Whether or not either of these guys will have success in it is just going to come down to whether Sanders can play faster and take fewer sacks, and if Gabriel is totally allergic to the middle of the field, because if he is, it won't work.
I really do think that Shedeur is going to play at some point, right? Because looking at the quarterback room, like Joe Flacco is not going to stop me from seeing what we have in Shedeur. Neither is Kenny Pickett. Whoever is the best rookie throughout the offseason between Gabriel and Shedeur, that'll be QB3. And honestly, I think they probably carry both Gabriel and Shedeur because you're not going to waive either one of them if you only want to carry 3 quarterbacks. So honestly, it's a competition between Flacco and Pickett to be the starter, and then you carry the 2 rookies, and then either Flacco or Pickett probably get jettisoned around training camp or traded or whoever. And then you got the 2 rookies that battle it out for QB2 and QB3, but I'd be willing to bet that both of them play and they see what they have. And it's just unfortunate that they're behind an offensive line that is much older and much less effective than it used to be, with weapons that are not in the top 3 quartiles in the league. So it's a tough environment to also see what you really have in these kids, but they're going to do it because they need to know going into next offseason where they have 2 first-round picks and might make a play for another quarterback. But like they have to get both of them playing time to get an accurate look of what they are.
I'll be positive about the Browns for one moment. I do love this as a landing spot for both Judkins and Fannin Jr., right? I mean, you see the vision I talked about, maybe rather than the Niners, I would compare it a little bit more to like the Cardinals last year. Like they're just going to put a bunch of tight ends on backs of the field and try to play big boy football. And Fannin was such a unique prospect, most productive tight end receiver in college football last year. Very unusual body type. My hope for him was to land somewhere with a coach who was going to be creative next to a more traditional tight end, which is exactly, I think the potential for them here. The backs pair well together. I liked both of them a lot. So as much as I do not like this receiving group, the tight end and backs group is fun. And you could you could zig here a little bit, or zag. The NFL zigs, you zag. So Browns fans, if you're listening to this and you're saying, you hear me kind of questioning it, I do like those players, and I do think Kevin Stefanski will find interesting ways to use them. So just wanted to
We've seen elite offenses build out.
Hello, xin chào tất cả các bạn đã đến với kênh YouTube của mình. Mình xin tự giới thiệu, mình là người sáng tạo nội dung trên nền tảng YouTube. Mình sáng tạo những video cắt dán. Đây là những sản phẩm cắt dán của mình. Đấy, nội dung của mình làm trên kênh chính là cắt dán. Và đây là những sản phẩm mình đã cắt dán mà mình vẫn còn lưu lại này. Đấy. Những đồ vật của mình sẽ làm là những đồ vật, động vật, con vật.